I'm wondering, when Asian characters are written mostly by white and non-Asian writers, how can that become problematic?
I think when you lack the lived experience of an Asian person, it's going to be, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's going to be very, very difficult for you to drill into the nuances of an Asian character's psyche, about what motivates him or her, where his insecurities stem from. And I think there's things that you can maybe pick out from the surface that you've read or you've seen in other media. Like, I've seen the tiger parent narrative 100,000 times. I've heard the word honor thrown around in projects where, there were a lot of non-Asian people involved in the screenwriting and the directing, process. I'm struggling to recall the last time we used the word honor in my household. But if white impressions of Asian characters are any indicator, it's like something that we throw around constantly. We're just talking about honor and how to bring honor to the family.
I got tired of being having to play Asians named Jade all the time. For some reason, the character was always named Jade. So I kind of extricated myself after a while and make my own movies, because
you're like one too many Jades. Yeah, I was like one too many, like kung fu guys, or like really pathetic characters, like playing super low status, scared Asian guy in a restaurant, scared Asian guy in in an office, scared Asian guy in wherever have you. So there's a real danger in getting the story wrong. Like if I were, if I were to tell people listening about, what it felt like being emasculated by the media my whole life as an Asian man, and then for you, I'm sure, Sook-Yin, for you to speak about your experiences being over sexualized and fetishized. I mean, these are things that very, very difficult for non-Asian people to understand, and I think we're continuing to further the conversation by talking about them and bringing them to the fore. But there is that's just one of the many kind of facets of our identity that we struggle with.
How is the updated 2021 adaptation of Shang Chi? How does that with Tony Leung, by the way, playing your pops, which is like, oh my God, I love Tony Leung.
Yeah. I don't think people realize he's like Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, all rolled into one superstar.
He's your dad. Okay, so I'm wondering, how did the production reclaim that cultural stereotype of which your pops was based on originally, and change that harmful stereotype?
Yeah. And by the way, you were talking about what are the dangers of having non-Asian people creating Asian characters. And I think your case in point is those Shang-Chi comics where he is, in the way that he speaks and what his father looks like, and the Fu Manchu beard and the Orientalist tropes and the martial arts kung fu guy that speaks in these like poetic proverbs and hyperbole, that's your danger right there. And so as to how we reclaimed it, I think we reclaimed it by just crafting our own story. And I think we're in a very lucky position to be able to do that, because Shang-Chi is one of the more obscure characters in the Marvel lore. Of course he was Asian, and I think he was created at a time where the show Kung Fu was out, and they were trying to capitalize on a craze, but then I think he had trouble finding his legs beyond that. So it was really great just to be able to almost, in some senses, start from scratch and to just build an origin story that we wanted to see. Yeah. For an Asian, someone who is Asian and also distinctly Asian American, you're going to see a lot of aspects of our culture that you saw, for example, in the trailer. You saw us singing karaoke. Yeah. We've all been there with our friends on a Friday night or Saturday night, but it's just stuff that's never made it to the mainstream for whatever reason. And we're just we're happy to be able to share that story with that level of authenticity.